The problem arises in the district courts. All these district courts
not
throughout the country are tying our hands, but here's how we will follow them when we get to the United Supreme Court.
I need to ask
we're
you
winning.
a number of questions.
And so, yes,
I know
we're
you want
following the
filibuster,
orders of the court.
Let me ask my questions. Can you confirm you will not allow any conduct like what is alleged to continue at the DOJ?
I'm not going to talk about anything that's alleged. What I will talk about with you, hold on, you asked me a question and I get to answer it. What you asked me, alleged conduct that's part of a pending whistleblower lawsuit that was filed on the eve prior to Emil Bove's hearing today.
I'm not asking about that
suspicious.
Case
hold on, let me keep going. I would run through a wall for Emil Bove and Todd Blanche.
Like to continue with my questions. I have very limited time.
Welcome back to Right View Nation, the home of truth, grit, and unapologetic American values. I'm fired up today, folks, and you're about to see why. Because what went down in that Senate hearing wasn't just a political clash. It was a full-on assault on justice, common sense, and the rule of law. But there was one woman who refused to bend. One woman who stood tall in the face of leftist theatrics, Attorney General Pam Bondi. Let's get something straight right off the bat.
We're joined by the Vice Chairman of the full committee. Senator Murray is recognized.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Attorney General Bondi, we are in a deeply alarming moment where law and order is being replaced by chaos and corruption and really whatever Trump wants. And your department's independence and its capacity to do its job have eroded before our eyes. We have seen respected career officials who've been fired for doing their job. Thousands more are being pushed out with your buyouts and the threat of mass firings, and entire divisions are being eliminated, and grants have been canceled illegally. So I have questions about how and why those decisions are being made, and importantly, whether you're adequately resourcing DOJ to do its job. But before I turn to my questions, I do want to raise my alarm about the troubling pattern of trampling basic rights. Detainees, including U.S. citizens, being shipped overseas without any due process. Elected officials are detained for conducting oversight, and a U.S. senator gets tackled to the ground for asking questions at a press conference. This is not the country I know or the values I believe in, and I hope that colleagues on both sides of the aisle will agree with that. Now, to the questions. Yesterday, and I know that Senator Van Hollen raised this issue, a former DOJ attorney filed a protected whistleblower complaint accusing Deputy AG Emil Bove and senior DOJ leadership of defying court orders, including through, quote, lack of candor, deliberate delay, and disinformation, unquote. The complaint also accuses this administration of firing the whistleblower for, quote, telling the truth to the court. These allegations are deeply concerning. Now, I know you said that you can't discuss the case, but can you confirm that you agree that this administration should follow court orders?
We will follow court orders, Senator. The entire administration will follow court orders. The problem arises in the district courts. All these district courts throughout the country are tying our hands. But here's how we will follow them when we get to the United Supreme Court.
I need to ask
we're winning.
A number of questions.
And so, yes,
I know
we're following the orders of the court.
Let me ask my questions. Can you confirm you will not allow any conduct like what is alleged to continue at the DOJ?
I'm not going to talk about anything that's alleged. What I will talk about with you, hold on, you asked me a question and I get to answer it. What you asked me, alleged conduct that's part of a pending whistleblower lawsuit that was filed on the eve prior to Emil Bove's hearing today.
I'm not asking about that
suspicious.
Case
hold on, let me keep going. I would run through a wall for Emil Bove and Todd Blanche.
Like to continue with my questions. I have very limited time. Thank you. I just want you to confirm for this you will not allow conduct like that at the DOJ. Yes or no?
I will always support and defend Emil Bove, and I will defend Todd Blanche. They are two of the finest people I know, and two of the ethical people I know.
I was asking about the conduct. Let me keep going here. Now, in April, DOJ abruptly terminated over 300 public safety grants that had already gone through a very rigorous and fair and apolitical application process with no explanation. This is funding to investigate and prosecute drug trafficking, to support foster care kids who experienced abuse or neglect, to expand access to forensic exams to prosecute violent crimes like sexual assault. These really senseless cancellations have already forced public safety organizations to cut employees and services. So I want to ask you, when you cut off the community-based violence intervention and prevention initiative funding, were you aware it is used to prevent and reduce violent crime?
Yeah, Senator, you weren't here for that, so I'm going to have to repeat myself. We have cut grants. I think we've cut 6%. But if we have cut a grant that you feel should not be cut, please reach out to me. I will personally look at it. We've turned multiple grants back on. Okay. We have an appeal process. But if you want to come to me directly, I would be happy to sit down with you and look at that and help you.
I'm happy. I appreciate
Again, we're doing everything we can.
Okay, but let me just ask you, when you cut off the Expanding Access to Sexual Assault Forensic Examination grant, were you aware that that grant helps our authorities prosecute rape and sexual assault?
I have no idea about that specific grant you're talking about. That's why I said if you want to come sit down with me, I would never cut a grant intentionally that has anything to do.
Those recipients on the other end across the country.
Can you give me the details of that grant?
I can absolutely do that, and my staff will get that to you. But those are two critical ones that I just wanted to ask you about today.
Again, we've turned many grants back on, and we'll continue to. If you want to call me and we can discuss them with you.
Okay, in your budget request, you proposed consolidating the Office on Violence Against Women into the Office of Justice Programs. In 2002, Congress actually codified the office as a permanent, separate, and independent office to implement the Violence Against Women Act. We did that to make sure that violent crimes against women receive the necessary attention, expertise, and resources, and to give the office a strong, independent voice within the Justice Department and federal government. Now your department wants to fade that into the OJP, which violates the intent of the law that we passed. It makes grant programs less effective, and it places a lot more barriers for victims and services they need. And I see that you're cutting the office's resources by about a third. So will you commit to us, the Appropriations Committee, to follow the law and maintain OVW as a separate grant entity?
I will follow the law, but I will not keep that as a separate grant entity. You and I can disagree all day long on what the law is. Well, that's being consolidated into the Office of Justice Programs. So I'm not going to cut, let me answer, I'm not going to cut anything that's going to hurt violence against women.
Not my question.
It will eliminate
I'm asking, just for your information, Attorney General, in 2002, we codified the office as a permanent, separate, and independent office. So that you need to go back and take a look at that. I know my time is out, but I thank you very much for the time.
The Democrats didn't show up to that hearing to seek answers. They came with a script, and the theme was Attack Pam Bondi. Senator Murray, leading the charge with dramatic monologues and sky is falling hysteria, didn't ask real questions. She gave talking points. She accused Bondi of dismantling the DOJ, destroying careers, eliminating grants, and get this, tackling U.S. senators. Folks, when your argument hinges on emotional breakdowns and exaggerated fairy tales, you've already lost the credibility war. And then they had the nerve to bring up a last-minute whistleblower complaint, filed conveniently before the hearing. Because what better way to derail legitimate government oversight than with a conveniently timed anonymous hit piece? But here's the best part. While the left was busy unraveling with their dramatic performances, Pam Bondi was calm, composed, and unshakable. She didn't flinch. She didn't grovel. She didn't cave to the mob. She made one thing abundantly clear. She stands with her people. She stood firm behind Deputy Attorney General Amal Bouv and Todd Blanche, men she called two of the finest people she knows. That, my friends, is loyalty. That's leadership. And when Senator Murray demanded she answer yes or no to hypothetical accusations, Bondi refused to play the left's trap game. She wasn't there to validate baseless accusations or play into their orchestrated political theater. She was there to defend justice, and she did just that. Now let's talk about this so-called scandal over grant funding. The Democrats are losing their minds over a 6% cut. Yes, 6%. That's what this tantrum is about. Pam Bondi explained it clearly. Some grants were reassessed, some were paused, and others reinstated. She even said, directly to Senator Murray, "Call me, and I will personally go over it with you." That's how a professional operates. That's how transparency works. But of course, the left doesn't want to solve the problem. They want to weaponize it. They threw around names like violence prevention, rape investigation, and drug trafficking to emotionally manipulate the public. They don't care about those victims. They care about scoring political points. Let's not forget, the grants weren't canceled in secret. There's a process. There's an appeals system. But you won't hear that from MSNBC or CNN, will you? Then we get to the big leftist scare tactic. Pam Bondi wants to eliminate the Office on Violence Against Women. Wrong. What Bondi is doing is streamlining bureaucracy, consolidating departments to make the DOJ more efficient, more responsive, and less bloated. It's about effectiveness, not optics. And for Senator Murray to claim it violates the law, that's rich coming from the same party that turns a blind eye to open border chaos, sanctuary cities, and lawless DAs. If Democrats really cared about violence against women, maybe they should start by securing the border and stopping the trafficking of women and girls. In a sea of political opportunism, Pam Bondi is a breath of fresh air. She doesn't apologize for doing the job the American people expect. She doesn't bend to leftist tantrums. She protects her team, follows the law, and brings logic where there's hysteria. If the Democrats thought they could bully her, they picked the wrong woman. And let me tell you something. This is why the left fears strong conservative women. Because they can't be manipulated. They can't be bought. They can't be broken. Pam Bondi represents what this country needs more of: backbone, integrity, and grit. She's not a puppet. She's a patriot. If you're sick of the left's double standards, if you're tired of their smear campaigns and their fake moral outrage, hit that like button. Subscribe to Right View Nation and share this video, because the truth needs a voice, and it sure won't come from the mainstream media. Stand strong. Stand proud. Stand with Pam Bondi. This is Right View Nation, and we'll never back down.